Hello, hello.
How are you?
Okay, it is nice to meet you, at
It
least on
sure is.
Instagram. And I want you to come see our place. So I'm gonna book you before we finish this interview. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So welcome everybody. This is another fantastic interview. I can feel it right now that we've been doing on Instagram Live for quite a while. Check out our page because we have some really interesting people that we've been interviewing, and now today we have Kim Ballas, who is the founder of Sober is the New Cool, and boy is it ever. So we are excited because I'm told that you have a fantastic presence on Instagram, that you have a lot of followers, but more important than any of that is your message is getting out there in such a real way. And for that, we are very grateful and honored to have you. So welcome.
Well, I'm honored that you even asked me here. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what is Sober is the New Cool, and who are you anyways?
So basically, in 2013, my son Matthew was 13 years old. From one day to the next, he was a football player, avid sports kid, started having grand mal seizures. So our life just went upside down. And after a few months of getting medication, they realized he was full on epileptic. There was no going back. He would be on medicine 99% the rest of his life. So that was it. So after a few months of kind of getting his medicine kind of okay, I said to him, you got to start going out and seeing your friends and hanging out. And he'd call me 20, 30 minutes after he'd get there and say, Mom, come and get me. I don't fit in. I don't fit in. So after the third time, I said, okay, wait a second. This isn't working. I said, you don't need booze to have fun. And as I said it, I had the biggest glass of wine in my hand. And I thought, wow, you are a hypocrite. So don't ask me why, because I loved my wine. I loved my martinis. I loved it all. I decided at that moment to say to him I was going to stop drinking for 3 months. And it'll be 10 years in January. I've never touched another drink. And the reason why Sober is the New Cool was born was because I was 51 years old. And at that time, it was hard for me. I would socially, everybody would say, come here, have another drink. You don't have a problem. They were trying to convince me that I could still drink. I knew I felt better without the booze. I knew I was doing better. And I was doing it for my son. And I loved him more than I loved myself. Because had it been for me, chances are, I'm not sure it would have worked out quite so well.
Wow. What a fantastic story. So I guess what's really what we want to be able to do, I guess, in part, is to address other mothers,
Yes.
parents who might be dealing with scary scenarios that you're speaking about. I mean, thank God, your scenario. I mean, we're usually dealing with parents of kids, whether they're 15 or 35, who are in the throes of addiction. So it
Yes.
doesn't sound like your son at that time. Thank God he was able to see right from the get-go, this is not going to work, and you're. But what do you tell parents who are turning to you and say, "Well, what do we? How do we do what you accomplished?"
Well, one thing I think the one thing I think we had going for us is we had a lot of therapy. Number one, we right from the get go we did a lot of therapy because one, of course, he was depressed. One, of course, he was anxious. Everything was taken away from him. Of course, and he did drink a few times at the beginning. We ended up in an ambulance on the way back to the hospital because he didn't want to do the non-drinking thing, the non-booze, the non-drugs, the non-this. He wanted to be like everybody, like the it kid, right? Well, you just can't. So for me, the one thing I ask the parents to do, I do one thing, which I started with him at the time, was I go to the dollar store, I get a billboard, I put it on the bathroom in front of their mirror, and I write, I am. And every morning and every night, I put a word. Only one word, and it has to be positive. So they wake up to a positive word, and they go to bed with a positive word. Because I think it starts with building their self-esteem. You need therapy. You need some sort of support. You're not alone. Don't be shy. because addiction and alcoholism and depression does not discriminate. It's in everybody's home. I can promise you that. You don't have to hide and you don't have to be embarrassed about it because we are here. And I think that's what I do. I talk about it like I'm talking like the sunshine. And there is zero judgment. And yeah, sometimes it's not going to work the first time, the second time, but we keep trying until. And I keep sending them to places like I've sent people to you, and they love your treatment center. They said they walk in and they feel a sense of serenity. What a compliment. And how is that for somebody that's feeling so low in their life to come to you and feel like that? That's a blessing.
Oh, it's one of the biggest blessings that the Jewish General Hospital saw 11 years ago now, saw how important it is to have a welcoming home. And they actually allow us to use, it's the former president of the Jewish General Hospital built this for his family in the 1930s and 40s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then they left in the 80s. And this big, beautiful home was left. And so what we did with the Jewish General's help is we made it into a home which is really welcoming. So I'm so glad to hear that that's what you're hearing, because that's really a big part of what I try to do is to be welcoming, meaning we're not judging anybody. There's no judgment here because there's nothing to judge. It would be the same thing as we had a clinic for diabetes. You know,
Exactly.
so that's important. What I'm curious, give me an example. You said I have. Like what are some of the words you put in there?
No, I am. I am.
Oh, I am. Okay, I'm sorry.
So they'll start with, and I do this with people that contact me. You know, I start because I feel they're at a low point. I'll say to them, I am smart. I am funny. I am, oh, somebody's just trying to find you here from Toronto. There, Barb. Let me just answer her, Rabbi, if you don't mind, because she really wants to get in on this. Hold on.
That's good. I'm going to take off my sweater because
I'm going to say yes now.
it is hot in Montreal today.
I know.
You can tell that person in Toronto.
So she's a wonderful mother. So basically, I write I am, and I'll start with words like funny, blessed, grateful, you know, something like artistic. I'll say unique, precious, wonderful, amazing. And the words just keep coming. And as you go on, I ask them to put a word instead of me. So it reminds them of the qualities they forgot they had. Because we all are different and we all have something special about us, right? We all do. And that's what makes this whole world a wonderful place. So if we can just start to remember to be as kind with ourselves as we are with others and see all, you know, see everybody else's qualities. This one's this one's that. No, what about you? So by doing the I am, and the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night, it gives you a sense of peace. And you kind of go, oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe I am, right? And you slowly, I did it with a school teacher. She was 30 years old. She said to me, I've got nothing good to say about myself. I said, wow, no, it's impossible. So 6 months after doing it on and off, she sent a big message on Instagram saying, when I met Kim, I couldn't say one good thing. Now I can say 50. I'm a grade 5 school teacher, and I start my day with all the children in the class that have to go around and say one good thing about themselves.
Is that right? Wow.
How bad can that be, right? How bad can that be?
That is so great to hear. That is so great to hear. We're gonna use it over here if that's okay.
Yeah,
we'll have to credit you.
Absolutely. It's, you know what? Why not? Whatever works, whatever can help somebody. I'm just like I think like an inch out of 12 inches. Like I'm just there to say, okay, if you're having a little bit of trouble, go back to a meeting, go do this, go do that. I'm just like a little reminder, just keep going. That's all I'm here to do, is to encourage and inspire and let you know, yes, you deserve this life and a good life. And it is an addiction. It's an addiction. This is not your fault. It's not your fault. Right?
Yeah, that's so fundamental, and at times the hardest thing to communicate, because there is so much shame that is, shame is the motivating force of addiction. You know, so the opposite of sobriety, for me, the way I see it, is pain. The only reason somebody is going to actively self-sabotage is going to be a reaction to pain. And so, and sometimes the greatest pain is really hating yourself, right? So I'm amazed at the story of your school teacher, because here, basically, by saying there's nothing she can think of, she's saying, I hate myself.
Yes.
And then 50 words later, fantastic.
And you know, I think that it's just a matter of letting people know that you really care. And if everybody would just reach out, you know, and you know, if somebody has an addiction and they're trying and they fail, well, try and talk about football, try and talk about sports, try and talk about a book, try and talk about something else. Don't shame them. They feel bad enough. They don't need you to make them feel any worse, right? I mean, that's the reality. So let's find some common ground and just go, okay, you made a mistake. Let's get back up there. Let's keep going. Let's do something. Let's try. Just keep trying.
Kim, I don't want to leave this teacher alone. Can we go back to her for a second?
Yes, absolutely.
I love this teacher. Let me ask you something. I mean, think about this for a second. Here is somebody who dedicated their lives to educating children. So this person is going into the classroom every day, understanding how important it is to bring out the positive, self-image, self-esteem. And could you imagine how conflicted she would be having to put this face out there to be able to be there for the children when inside of her, she's falling apart inside of her. So she could easily, I bet you, put 50 words, or maybe not 50, she could put definitely a bunch of words for her students each.
Yes.
But for herself, she couldn't. So look at the contrast here. And that's what we're talking about so many times with addiction, because addiction, or people with addiction, are not going to necessarily be people who are sleeping in gutters.
No.
I mean, of course, there are plenty of homeless, and that's a subject for itself. But in general, addiction, at least what we see, it's talked about as they have two cars in the driveway. So now you have people who are out in the world feeling a certain way about themselves and putting on this face that's just an impossible thing to maintain, to sustain. And that's where the shame and then the crashing and then the cycle and comes in. So sober is the new cool is part of celebrating the fact that, you know what, I can't think of one word to put in there. I can't. And let's celebrate that, because I'm talking to you and I want to be sober, and let's come up with a word or two. So I love it. I love it. We have, by the way, now hired, he's starting actually Monday, he got his master's in counseling with music therapy.
Wow.
So he's an amazing musician. His name is Andy McDonald. Everyone can meet him. Hold the presses. Kim, you got a book. You got to come in for a Tuesday noon meeting.
Yes, promise.
Yeah. What date you got? You got a date?
I've got the 8th. I've got the 22nd. Does that work? Either one?
It's got to be the 8th. You know why?
Why?
Because that's the next one.
Okay, and that 8 is my lucky number.
Okay, well, it just became our lucky number. So on November 8th, what happens here, just to give you a quick, we have a group every Tuesday at noon that's open to everybody and anyone.
Yes.
And every week we have a speaker. So we have, throughout the years, you can imagine how many hundreds and hundreds, we've been doing this for 25 years, hundreds and hundreds of speakers. And each speaker is coming from a different perspective. So just yesterday, we had someone who came from the fellowship called S-Anon. S-Anon, like any Anon would mean partners of. So Al-Anon are partners of people with alcoholism. S-Anon happens to be partners of people with sex addiction. So she came in and told her story with unbelievable courage. The week before, we had somebody who's struggling with gambling, and they're in Gamblers Anonymous. The week before, with eating. So every week, we have somebody else, but the same message comes time and time again, is how do they go from the isolation, from the fear, from the pain, to being alive. So it's not just about, like you say, it's not just putting down the drink.
No.
No, but it's bringing a person to life. And
Yeah.
so every Tuesday at noon, you and everybody else, and if anyone wants to reach you, they know when and where now. Come to our center, and you come for the Tuesday noon meeting. And like I said, it's open to everybody, whether you have an addiction or you don't have an addiction. We'd love to see you there. So I'm looking forward. And something else that's very important, Kim. I hope you write this down. We have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for anybody who wants one, and I make them.
Oh my God, I love peanut butter.
That's an important question.
Yes,
yes,
I love peanut butter and jelly. Yes, I do.
Good. Okay, we're good. So we're booked. Okay, so tell me a little. Do you mind speaking a little bit about how your son is doing, where he is now, or is that something I can ask you?
No, that's perfect. So he's now going to be 5 years seizure-free in January.
Wow.
And, you know, now, quite honestly, he's done a few podcasts with me and also talking to young men that have epilepsy because, one, they can't drive. You know, this all happens, you know, it's become quite common, young boys and young girls at the age of 16, 18 getting epilepsy.
So is that right?
Yes, so everything's taken away from them. And with their medication, and not only for them, kids with ADD shouldn't be drinking with that medicine either. So let's get that straight too. So he has been able to talk to young people and share how he gets through, because listen, there's times where he goes to a party, he comes back early, he does not touch booze anymore because we've been in and out of the hospital too many times. And so 5 years, almost January 24th, we're seizure free. But, you know, it is a struggle for him because, of course, he'd like to be, you know, and that was one of the things when I first stopped drinking. He said, you know, Mom, after 3 months, you could be like everybody else and have fun again. I said, wow, what a terrible statement to say, I need booze to have fun in my life, right? So that was fantastic and then he used me as an excuse when his friends would come over. You can't drink here because my mother doesn't drink. Because he couldn't even say with being epileptic that he couldn't drink. How crazy does that sound? So now he talks to young people. He tells them that he can go to a party. He can have fun. Sure, he doesn't stay out till 3 o'clock in the morning, but he's found other friends. And a lot of his friends say, okay, let's go for coffee. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And, you know, I have to tell you a story about a woman. You would love her. It's called Big Vision in New York City, Eve Goldberg. And she started Big Vision because she lost her son. And she takes young boys and young women and reintegrates them into the world after the treatment. And you know what?
After what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
After treatment, after they get out of a treatment center. Okay? So she shows them they can go golfing, they can go to the zoo, they can do bowling, they can do this. Like she finds all kinds of different things for them to do. And that's what I think my son Matthew is teaching other people, that, you know, there's other things to do other than get wasted and high, you know. And the other thing, the few friends that he has had that are trying to get better have been able to talk to him about it. Wow. And he's been, they know he's not judgmental, right? And so they say, I've had trouble, this, that, where do I go? What do I do? So he just tries to help them. So it can't be bad. And it's given me my life back, his sickness, unfortunately. But I think he would have been kind of like me, an all or nothing person. So I think it's a gift in the end that he can't do those, you know, drink or, you know.
Right. So this is interesting you're bringing up that mixing the drink with the drug, meaning the prescription drug.
Yes.
And how actually that could really set off. And I don't think enough people talk about that. And I don't know if doctors necessarily really bring that home, but that's one thing that I heard that I think is an important thing to get out there, like you're saying. But you know what I'm really hearing is, and parents, you know, they want their kid to get well. Of course, I'm a parent, I'm a grandpa. Of course, what are they willing to do about their own lives? You know, it's not my problem, it's my kid's problem. And you know, there's a lot of justification for that kind of thinking. no,
Yeah.
I'm not judging that, but on the other hand, I've told this. Tell me if this makes sense to you. There have been people who are in recovery from alcoholism or drug addiction, and they feel so bad about what they've done to their kids, what they've done in the family as a result, and they feel there's no redemption. And one thing I say that you're actually personified. One thing I say to them is that you can give your kids something that kids don't get, which is hope.
Yeah.
Because as your kids see you changing and growing and being more and more alive and in tune, they see, wow, there's hope.
Yes.
And that message that there's hope can be the difference between life and death. So that's what seems like, that's what's screaming all over you. I mean, your merchandise there should be like hope. Because that's really the message. So tell me about the merchandise. I'm looking at your website, which is a great website. I mean,
Well, someone's just working on it right now, actually trying to jazz it up a bit. So it's in the
so
works.
tell me
But yes.
what's going on with this website. Tell me about it.
So basically, we started the T-shirts and my sister made the logo for me, and we started the T-shirts and the hoodies. It was this was all done for my son. This was never supposed to become. It was on a kitchen table. It was an idea. And it's exploded. And I have grandmothers that wear Sober's the New Cool T-shirts. They feel like it's a badge of honor. Their grandkids want them to wear it at Christmas or at parties or at weddings because they feel that they've got their grandmother back. Could you imagine? So it's never too early. It's never too late. And because I knew people at the Douglas Foundation, because when I started, I have to tell you, when I said I'm going to start Sober is the New Cool, people laughed. They said, you cannot say sober and cool in the same sentence. So I guess I proved them wrong, right? And
yeah.
so once the T-shirts are paid, we give back to the Douglas Foundation. I'm trying to become a nonprofit so that I can help others, and I'm waiting for the Canadian government. We shall see, because I have two foundations want to give me some money, but they need a tax receipt. So pray. And if not, I'll find another way. Somehow, some way, I'm not going anywhere. So this is our way of, giving someone a badge of honor and saying, you know what, I matter. This is cool. I am cool. And some people recover out loud. Some people don't, right? It's very simple. And everybody's entitled to do it their way. I choose this way for my son and I because I feel that wherever I go, whenever I'm somewhere, somebody always seems to sit beside me and say, how do you do this? And I say, I'm never going to miss another memory again at a wedding, at a here, at a there. And they go, oh, wow, what a great answer. Because people don't know how to, it's hard to say, I don't drink. Because it happened to me this summer. I went somewhere where people didn't know me very well. When I said it, I got those big eyes, like, oh, what's wrong with her, right? And but I laugh and but it's still, I'm still a work in progress. And I have to walk away sometimes and say, okay, there's a trigger here. This is not a good place for me. So Sober's the New Cool is just showing people that there are endless possibilities. Something that started on a kitchen table has become worldwide now. And we help people all over the place. And we help them find other places to get treatment or what they need. I had a mother in South Africa that called me, texted me and said her son was a crystal meth addict. I said, oh, I know a young man that's a recovering alcoholic in South Africa. Let me see if he can help you. Well, he did. It took 4 times, but her son now is clean and he'll keep helping them. And that's what I think Sober's the New Cool is. We're just trying to connect people and let them know they're not alone. And it can be done. It can be done. And you deserve it. Least of all, everyone deserves to be happy and have a great life.
Wow. Well, fantastic. This has really been great. I have a few things I need to add to my grateful chart now. And an attitude of gratitude is definitely something that I practice on a regular basis, and I see the merit. And I'm very grateful for what you're doing. And the people
I'm grateful for you because I'm from Montreal, so I like to surround my city. And when I found you, I was very, very happy because I know they're in good hands.
Okay, that's wonderful. And I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yes, I will. At what time?
At noon.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
All right. Very good. Thank you so very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you and bless.
Bye.
Oh, can I ask you one thing?
Yes.
For all the young people and mothers and fathers right now, if you could keep them in your heart and in your prayers. There's some people that are suffering right now and having a hard time remaining sober. I would ask you to just pray also for them and keep them in your thoughts because, somehow, some way, I know it'll help.
Okay. I appreciate that very much so. Thank you.